All right, step 2 of this whole nonsense. All right, so we got our basic hold shaped out. It's time to go ahead and add some more detail in. So if you already got a couple of holds set up, which probably don't since this is the introductory video, it's good to have some reference. So I already know what kind of style I've got developed, so I'm going to go ahead and keep these on hand so I can keep that consistency across the board. But when you're developing your style, or you're ideally going to have multiple styles, but you want to have your reference on hand, all right? Whatever inspires you, be it a range that you climb at, the natural rock formations that are there, or be it a specific style of holds that you prefer. Kilter grips. Kilter grips makes the best holds on the market. I really like what I see from Pusher. I really like what I see from there's a place called Menagerie. I think that's how you pronounce that. Beautiful holds. Those guys inspire me. Those are the guys I like to reference from. I don't want to copy their work. I don't have any interest in that. I consider this a little bit of an art form. So I'm not interested in plagiarism. But when I see the techniques that they're using and how they're shaping it, that's the kind of thing I want to emulate a little bit. That's the kind of thing I want to put into my own work when I'm developing the holds that I want to make. You could just make blank holds. You could just put a hole in the top of this and call it a day. It would be good to go. But I personally like adding some detail and some texture into it. So I've got my references on hand. I've got some new tools. I've got the saw still. Probably won't use it. I do have my sandpaper. We will use that. I've got my Dremel. I've got a couple different bits for it. You really can vary it up. They don't need to be this particular style. All I want is this point and then this rounded edge. Whatever Dremel bits give you that, use them. That's fine. Whatever. You can still do it with a tool if you want to. I could probably pick them all out with this tool if I wanted, but I do love my Dremel. I've also got this bigger piece, probably overkill for most of what I'm going to do. It's not very often I use this one anymore. I used to use it for like these grooves I have on these. That's a waste of time. I do all that with this now. I've also got my logo that I'm going to insert into this, and I've got a glue gun to set that. But that's what I'm going to do with mine. You're probably not there yet. So we're going to go ahead and get started on this. I want to fine tune some stuff. Really use the shadow. I got the light coming in from the top right. Really use the shadow to identify any kind of edges that you can still see. You may not be able to feel them as well. I think I'm ready to go with it. So with my detail, I like to do this motion where it's really sweeping across. So I've curled this up into a round here, and I'm just gonna add some detail across the front of it, swooping back. All right, I want to try to avoid where the bolt hole's going to go. The bolt hole's going to go right there. I don't mind a little bit of detail right through that area, but I really don't want to take away from some of the structure that my bolt hole is supporting. So I want to bring this all the way up into here, but I really don't want to add any super defining features to make this a right only or a left only. So I'm going to round it out, really. Just keep it nice and smooth. Again, the finger work's up here. This is what I want to keep. This is the prime focus of this hold. All right, this hold here isn't about this down here. It's about this edge here. Same here. All right, so this is what I want to keep in prime shape. This is what I'm working on right here. I can add detail down here. This is what I don't want to mess with. I'm going to add some detail to it later, but I really don't want to mess up this functional shape. So keep that in mind when you're going. Something like this, where you can spin it and it has all these different angles, it's a little bit different, and your setters are going to recognize that. Your setters are going to recognize that every angle has a different option, and they'll set with it using that. So that when you're designing your holds, those are things you want to keep in mind. I might have a setter that sets this thing upside down, but you're still probably going to pull on it. And, it's still going to be a side pull. It's going to be an undercling, things like that. So this is the prime focus of the hole, not this. You can do whatever you want to do with this down here. This is the prime focus of the hole. So I'm not going to run this groove all the way up and across because that would change the dynamic of how it's going to be held. So I'm going to stop right about there, grind it back in a little bit, smooth it out. All right, I've got some pleasing shapes going on there, I think. I'm okay with that. I'm gonna go ahead and power up the Dremel, I think. All right, so we're gonna start off with the fine line. And what I'm gonna try and do with that fine line is I'm gonna recreate these lines that are going across it. Running them low speed. I'm just gonna pick out a couple of lines. All right, I'm pretty happy with that. Add a little bit of detail. This might add a little bit of texture up to the top for that slope, but not enough that I'm worried about too much. What it adds is more than what it takes away, so I'm pretty happy with that. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and add these little spotted effects that you can see here, kind of like raindrops in sandstone. All right, I'm pretty happy with that overall. It looks like a kind of a sweet hold so far. I like the texture up top. I think everything's all pretty decent. I think it works out well with this style. So the next thing I gotta do is set this down on the board as flat as I can. I'm gonna put my 3/8 inch. All right, when we're putting our bolt hole, this is one of the more important things to do with the hole. Forget all the sculpting, forget all the detail. Where this bolt goes dictates how long this hold can last sometimes. If you put it way down here, this is where the pressure is going to be on this hold. We're going to pull it off the ball. It's going to break right across this line. All right, you need to put it where it's got support. You need to put it it doesn't need to be in the thickest section necessarily, but it needs to be where it can support the weight being put onto it. So you throw it up here in the top half of the thing, I think it'll be okay. I don't want it so far up because there's still a lot of this that could spin out. This could get pulled on conceivably in the future a little bit. So I want it more center than that, but I definitely want the weight of it towards the top. So I'm going to set it right here in the middle of the hold. I just got a 3/8 inch spade bit that I've got lined up as best I can right now. This is where a drill press comes in handy by a long shot rather than just eyeballing it. But for a shallow hold like this, eyeballing it's okay. Eyeballing it will work out just fine. Sandpaper doesn't take foam is pretty pliable, obviously. So I like how that bit sits in there. It's nice, it's decent 90-degree angle to it. I'm gonna go ahead and run that all the way through. Looks good. Now I'm gonna take another spade bit. This is a 5/8, and I'm going to just kind of get in there. I need to be able to see that hole. So in reality, what you do is you do this 5/8 first. I got ahead of myself. You do the 5/8 first, not what I'm currently doing. And then after the 5/8's done, the inset for the bolt, you can go in with the 3/8 and pick the center and go, rather than trying to hover and not damage the hole. All right, pretty happy with that. That's gonna work out okay. Yeah, I like that. That'll be just fine. I'll set a washer on it nicely. So I like that. The last thing I'm gonna do is I want this logo in here. This is not really important for most of your holds early on. Yeah, it's a little bit further to the right than I'd like, but I also still have the bulk of it, so I'm okay with that. I think I'm going to throw it right. If I throw it there, that would be okay. But I think I like it more here, and I don't think it's going to ruin the hold, the slope if I do that. So I'm going to put my point on. I'm going to kind of just draw around the side of that, scrape it out a little bit. My glue gun's been heating up for this. All right, the little divots in there for the for the glue to sit in there. I'm pretty happy with that, I think. Take a little bit more out of this edge. There, perfect. All right, let's glue it. Get that little strand out of there. I'm gonna set this in. All right. I think that looks good. I'm pretty happy with all that. Try and get that little. There's a little piece there I want out. All right, there we go. There we go. I think that looks pretty decent. I'm pretty happy with that. That's in size considerations with everything else I've got going on. So I think that'll be a nice addition to the collection. The next step is to go ahead and do the silicone casting.